Welcome to this explainer. Look, if you're a focused learner looking to stop wasting time and actually start getting results, you are in exactly the right place. We're tackling a frustration pretty much everyone has experienced. You spend hours crafting the perfect application, you hit submit, and then nothing. It feels like you just sent your career history into this vast, silent, digital black hole. Cue the cricket noises, right? Well, the culprit is the algorithm. Today, we're going to break down the exact science of creating an ATS resume, turning this frustrating black box into a predictable, totally manageable system. Okay, let's dive into this. 97%. That number represents the massive, frankly overwhelming majority of Fortune 500 companies that are currently using Applicant Tracking Systems, or ATS, to manage their hiring. This isn't just some niche software used by a handful of tech startups. This is the absolute standard gatekeeper of the modern corporate world. If you're applying for a job today, you are almost certainly passing through an ATS first. To conquer this system, we need a solid game plan. Here's our roadmap for today. 1. The Applicant Tracking System. 2. Busted, Common ATS Myths. 3. The Winning ATS Formula. And 4. Fatal Resume Mistakes. Let's get right into it. Section 1. The Applicant Tracking System. Understanding the bot. A lot of people picture the ATS as this hyper-intelligent robot bouncer, scrutinizing your life choices and aggressively tossing your application into the digital trash. In reality, it's way simpler. Think of it as a giant, highly organized digital filing cabinet. Its primary job is just to parse your resume, extract your qualifications, and rank you based on the job description. ATS compliance simply means you've designed your resume so that this software can easily read it. It ensures your data is accurately stored and perfectly searchable for when a human recruiter actually goes looking for it. Section 2. Busted, Common ATS Myths. Let's separate fact from fiction. Let's start with the absolute biggest fear out there. The myth is that the bot automatically rejects you. But the fact is, as we just established, these platforms are organizational tools. They are not the ultimate decision makers. While the ATS does rank resumes to bring the most relevant ones to the top of the pile, a human recruiter almost always makes the final call on who actually gets the interview. Your goal isn't to impress a sentient computer. Your goal is to be categorized correctly so the human actually sees your file. Now, what's really interesting about this next myth is how it tackles a massive source of anxiety for applicants: the pursuit of perfection. People absolutely obsess over mirroring the job description flawlessly, thinking they need a 100% match score to advance. The liberating fact here is that the system uses relevance-based ranking. You do not need perfection. The sweet spot you should be aiming for is a 75% match score or higher. Hitting that 75% threshold tells the system you're highly relevant without forcing you to copy and paste the job description verbatim. Finally, let's look at how the system actually reads your words. The myth is that only exact keywords work and that it only scans your most recent job. The fact is, modern ATS algorithms are incredibly sophisticated. They understand context and synonyms. So, for example, if the job description asks for project management, the system is totally smart enough to recognize the phrase managed projects on your resume. Furthermore, it scans all of your relevant experience, regardless of where it falls on your career timeline. Section 3, the Winning ATS Formula. Let's optimize that resume. It all starts with baseline structural rules. To a creative graphic designer, these standard formatting rules might seem incredibly boring, but to an ATS parser, they are a breath of fresh air. You want a single column layout, 1-inch margins, and left-aligned text. And critically, stick to conventional section headings like experience, education, and skills. If you try to be cute and use a heading like My Professional Journey, the software parser literally won't know how to categorize that data, and your experience might just get completely ignored. Next up is how you handle strategic keywords. While we know the system understands context, you still want to mirror the exact language of the job description for job titles and hard skills whenever possible. A really brilliant tactic here is to use a mix of full terms and acronyms. For instance, write out search engine optimization and put SEO in parentheses right next to it. This guarantees the bot will find your skills, regardless of which specific version the recruiter typed into their search bar. But, just listing keywords isn't going to cut it. You have to weave them into achievement-oriented content. This is where we need to slow down for a second and look at the STAR method: situation, task, action, and result. When you're writing your bullet points, don't just list your daily chores. Use this 4-step acronym to highlight measurable accomplishments. Tell the algorithm what the situation was, the task you faced, the specific action you took using those strategic keywords, and the quantifiable result you achieved.
And this brilliantly illustrates our next rule: safe typography. You want to stick to standard pre-installed fonts like Calibri, Arial, or Georgia. Avoid decorative fonts at all costs. I mean, unless you're applying to be a party clown, please leave Comic Sans and Papyrus off your resume. Not only do handwriting and decorative fonts look completely unprofessional to the human eye, but they are notoriously difficult for ATS software to process. Keep it clean, keep it standard.
To wrap up the winning formula, let's talk file best practices. There's this persistent myth floating around that ATS can't read PDF files. That is completely false for modern systems. While submitting a .docs file is totally safe, a PDF is considered the absolute gold standard. Why? Because it locks in consistent formatting. When that human recruiter finally opens your file, a PDF ensures it looks exactly how you designed it. And as a final touch of professionalism, use a clean naming convention, like first name, last name, job title, resume, PDF. Section 4, Fatal Resume Mistakes. Let's look at what actually breaks the system. So here are the specific elements that quite literally break the parsing algorithm. First up, complex layouts. Things like tables, text boxes, graphics, and multi-column designs often lead to garbled, misaligned text when the ATS tries to read them. Then there's invisible information. You should absolutely never place critical details like your contact info in the headers or footers of your document because many ATS platforms are programmed to skip those areas entirely. Third is unvetted content. The ATS will not recognize a keyword if you misspell it, period. And finally, keyword stuffing. Cramming the page with the same phrase repeatedly is an outdated tactic that just reeks of desperation to both the algorithm and the human recruiter. Another massive trap is the actual format of your resume itself. You absolutely must avoid functional or skill-based resumes. These are formats that try to group your experience by skill category rather than by the timeline of your jobs. You should always stick to traditional chronological formats where your most recent job is listed first. So the crucial point is the steep cost of trying to break this rule: 14 to 18 points. If you try to be creatively structured by using a functional resume, you will typically suffer a massive 14 to 18 point drop in parsing accuracy compared to a chronological format. The ATS simply doesn't know how to read a timeline-free document, meaning your carefully curated skills will be completely lost in translation. We've covered a ton of ground today, from unmasking the algorithm to building an incredibly robust ATS-compliant application. Mastering the bot isn't about tricking a computer. It's simply the necessary key to unlocking the human connection on the other side of the screen. So I'll leave you with this question to ask yourself as you go audit your own resume today. Are your application materials formatted for the algorithm so they can finally reach a human? Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and happy applying.